Welcome to Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights with Rich Klein. We're going to talk about the National. We're getting ready. It's coming up shortly. We've been to a lot of them. I stand on the record of saying I think Cleveland's going to be great, but it's going to be great in a different way compared to Chicago, not just because of the new promoters, the new venue. The hobbies continues to evolve. Thanks, sponsors: Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, Compsy.com, Burbank Sports Cards, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Heritage Auctions, Huggins Scott Auctions, Tops, Upper Deck, and Penny. Welcome, Rich.
I would be more excited if I could actually afford to go this year.
How are you going to enjoy the National?
I can enjoy the National remotely.
Explain that.
I know enough of the people at the National, even if I don't go. Read what's going on. I'll see the videos, and I'll get a feel for what's going on. I may not be at the singles club table digging in at their 50-cent or dollar cards or $3 cards. You'll see the activity and you'll recognize, I know him, I know him, I know you. They posted a photo of 20 people at their booth and you were one of them, and I posted on Twitter. Oh, by the way, just so you know, in this is one Dr. James Beckett.
Yeah.
Got a good response on Twitter that way. I didn't even point out who you were. I just said you're in the photo.
Rich, what you're saying is you could still be my remote wingman.
I'm still your remote wingman. Yes, sir.
So if I tell you where I am, because I love it when we're both at a show and you either have a sixth sense or whatever, but you'll tell people where I am because I'm not putting it out there on social media where I am, but you know where I like to be. And I have some circulating time, but a lot of my time is camped out. And
being your wingman is actually a lot of fun because like people come up to me and all I'll do is I'll text you and I'll say, okay, so-and-so is looking for you. Where do you want to meet him? Actually, it's fun. And I figure I take some of the pressure off you that way, too.
Okay, but I'm not the only guy that has a wingman. There's a lot of people that enjoy the hobby in a small group. Doesn't have to be two guys, could be three or four. But if you text one of them, they'll say, oh, yeah, I saw him over here. They're not purposely a wingman, but there's a lot of people like you. You're a connector, but there's other connectors out there that would say, yeah, I saw him over there at this table an hour ago. Maybe he's still there.
I was at Kevin Strunk's table that people would just see me sitting there, would come up and talk to me. And they actually wanted to talk to me necessarily. You're right. I think there are a lot of connectors like that in the hobby, and they're important in a way you don't realize.
The mascot is showing where the cards are. And I don't know to what extent you can dig into that app or any other app to know where the best dealers are or the best deals are. In other words, we were both at the last Dallas show, and there was a table there that had their dollar box. And on Friday, they marked it all cards 50 cents. But Saturday, they marked it all cards 25 cents.
And that's where I saw you on Saturday.
And that's where you saw me. But if you had seen it first, and then I told another guy, and he went over there, and the word can get out, but I don't know if that's been formalized with an app.
Maybe we need the value box club, like a mascot for the graded cards, and come up with some acronym for value box digging.
Yeah, but that just makes more people want to do it. I think the advantage you and I both have is that even if more people do it, I think I can outlast them. I have a long attention span, and you're super quick. If you're quick, hang in there, get there, and are decisive. And $1 or less, you could be pretty decisive. Hey, if I like it, I'm just going to put it in the pot.
Well, there was one table I had to go to. It was 50 cents instead of $1 when I went to his table.
Exactly. And then you told me about it. And I thought, if everybody's getting it for 50 cents, my first question was, how many do I need to buy to get it to be less than 50 cents? And they said, we just made it 50 cents. You're already getting half off. I said, yeah, but so is this other guy that's buying 2 cards. What if I buy 200 or 2,000? Scratch that. I'm probably not going to buy 2,000.
And would not be real happy if you bought 2.
That's, again, it's the subtraction by addition. No, I have our 2,000 cards that were good, but it takes a while to pick them out. And people ask me, what are you looking for? And whether it's the national or the local show, but it's eclectic. And it's hard to summarize. Other people that are looking in the dollar boxes are usually looking for something specific. And that's probably not the best way to do it. One guy was saying, hey, I'm just looking for Bowman Chrome. Well, what year, what sport? No, I just want Bowman Chrome. There was a bunch of it in there, but he didn't say what players. He probably wasn't looking for all players. But if you're looking for any sport, for any card that could be a good card that's interesting, that's what I do.
You've seen nickel or dime boxes. I see somebody like Harrison Bader. I tell him, you can just pull me those because he went to my high school. At a dime a piece, I don't care if they're just the worst of the base cards. It's fine. So that's also a way to get somebody, if they really want to be helpful, okay, we do this. But my standard answer is anything I think I can make money on. And you're the same way, with the exception of there are some people that share my birthday or some people that went to my high school or college that I just pull, but the list becomes too long. So anything I think I can make money on.
Okay. The previous nationals, what have you done when you bought a big enough box of cards that you don't want to lug it around?
I lugged it around, but I also know enough people that I would let them hold it behind their table for me.
So that'd be a high trust relationship. But then you would expect, as we talked about with the recent Dallas show, that they would hold it securely. Somebody wouldn't be casing that table and figuring, hey, Rich Klein just put this big 3-row underneath this guy's table. I wonder what's in there. And me, same thing. Sometimes I'll have more than I want to carry around, and I can either leave it with the guy that I bought it from or some other, like you say, trusted person.
For example, if I buy $5 cards from one person and 50-cent cards from another person, the cards I'm going to dump off to be held are the 50-cent cards. If something happens, it's the cheaper of the options.
In other words, you're going to hold on to the better cards and you're going to put it in your backpack or in your satchel or whatever you have.
Yes.
I guess I do that, but my goal is buying cards that people aren't going to hassle me about or want to steal. They're low demand, low supply. But when I'm walking out to the parking lot, nobody's bugging me. When I'm walking in at the beginning of the show and I've got, say, $1,000 of cash, nobody's hassling me. And when I walk out, there have been a couple times people say, hey, what do you got in the box? Is the box?
That happened to me on Saturday at the Dallas card show. So I told the guy, and he was aggressive. I said, I got some quarter cards for you to look at. And the look he gave me was like,
okay, would he think you were joking?
Yeah. So he goes, well, okay, if you don't have the quarter cards, we can go to the cards I gave the dime for. Then he gave me a look like, you're really serious, aren't you? I said, yeah, I really am being serious. You're welcome to look at the quarter cards. I don't take any offense. Go have a good time.
He thought you were being sarcastic.
No, that was actually the truth, dude. Those were quarter cards.
Most of the people, even if you told them they were $5 cards, $10 cards, I think there's a huge contingent of people that go to shows that are looking for $100 and up.
Behind the table, and I think that's what he was looking for.
You could have enticed him. You could have said, I mainly collect vintage. Oh, man, he would have been salivating.
I do prefer vintage, but you don't get vintage in a quarter.
Occasionally. No, it's $1.
Yeah, but not as a regular.
Quarter cards. I'm saying they're dollar cards I'm getting for a quarter. There were 60 tops in there, baseball. There were 61 tops football in there. I picked out a couple. They weren't gradable, but they were decent cards.
I did very well on the 50-cent stuff I bought from the Palmers.
With this national, admittedly, you're not going to be there, but is it your sense, it is my sense, that the security for this national will be increased? Nothing against Brogy and Burkus, but I think this new regime with Joe and Jimmy, I think they're going to have increased cameras, increased plain clothes, and increased monitoring and all that stuff. Maybe they're going to be doing stuff we don't even know.
I'd be making announcements every hour on the hour. I tell the story. 84 Parsippany National. There was a police officer sitting with Mike Gordon at the front desk. Every hour on the hour, there were announcements made. Remember, it was in a 400-table room. We have undercover cops walking the floor, monitoring everything. You know how many other undercover cops were really walking around that show? 0. You know how many things were reported being stolen at the show? 0. It was the fear of being caught. And so that's why the more announcements you make, and if you really want to be a fake person, you do a fake arrest. You walk somebody out.
Walk them out in handcuffs.
And walk them out in a handcuff.
You heard it here, Rich. I'm not volunteering for that role in that one-act play.
What a way to deter people. You hire somebody, you walk them out in handcuffs, you make it seem like he's public enemy number one, and you say that can happen to you if you take anything. Think about the deleterious effect on people at the show when they see people being walked out in handcuffs.
Another problem. Okay, if I buy more than 2 boxes of dollar box cards, but if I were buying unopened wax or complete sets, anything like that, I may have more than I can carry. That isn't a problem in Chicago because I could just take one load and dump it off in my hotel room, which is across the street. Barely across the street. But in Cleveland, the closest hotel is 2 miles away, and you've got to get a shuttle, so you can't unload and reload. Oh, I left that back in the room. It's going to cost you an hour to go back and then drop it off and then wait on the shuttle to come back. Even at the end of the day, now maybe you got 5 boxes. So maybe I've got to bring some way to lug boxes.
One thing about Cleveland, at least in 2018, the last time they had it there, it was really wild because in Chicago, they don't care if you used a 2-wheel or a 4-wheel to load stuff out of a show.
Yeah.
But in Cleveland, you could only have 2 wheels.
Because of the union?
I guess so. Yes, sir.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really wild. Cleveland was really insistent about you have to only have 2 wheels. Chicago, because I brought that up in like 2019 to one of the guys at Triple, the guy who drives the truck up, then he checked. He says, no, in Chicago, they let us use the 4 wheels.
Because they've made a deal with the union, a package plan. That's helpful, but I can't bring my 2-wheeler, 4-wheeler, whatever.
You're not going to bring that on the flight with you, obviously.
There are tiny ones that the flight attendants have.
Yeah.
That fold up down to almost nothing.
Get one of those.
I might get one of those. This has been helpful, Rich. So you're helpful, even though you're not telling me.
You're learning national tricks from somebody. And in all honesty, I think with what happened, because it'll be top of mind, I guarantee you, Joe and Jimmy and their teams, there's going to be not only just extra security, but they've learned from the Dallas Card Show. And one thing they're going to try to do, I've been told they do this at their smaller shows. They don't want anybody who does not have a dealer badge walk during breakdown. It's not going to be perfect because not every dealer is perfectly honest either. Let's be real. But at least you have more of a fighting chance of knowing if they have a badge, who they are.
No, but the honesty, if every booth gets 2 or 3 badges, whatever
right.
The number is, say it's 2, maybe it's 3. You get 3 badges. The next step is to put the names on the badges. But then are they really going to check the names as they're walking through? Because then they could trade. One guy comes in, he takes out 2 badges and brings another buddy in or something like that.
To do it right, you have to have one entry and you have to have people every day marking you in. And then, wait a second, you look different than Jim Beckett from yesterday. Okay, how come you look so different?
I have a different shirt on. Okay, what about wristbands instead of lanyards? Because the wristbands, they're Tyvek or something.
I know at the Dallas Card Show, if you're doing day admission, they put a wristband on you.
But you could cheat on that too. You just pop it, give it to somebody else, and then they could tape it back.
On Saturday, I actually took mine off. And yes, I could have popped it off and then given it to somebody else if their wrist was small enough or big enough.
But you popped it and then you just tape it. I'm thinking like a criminal. But the point is almost any system can be beaten a little bit. And so I'm in favor of tightening up on the badges as long as it doesn't affect me or you.
I think we're all in favor of tightening it up, especially after what happened last weekend. It's a real given.
I think that's going to happen. It's going to happen, yeah.
But it may not be workable with the sheer volume of people.
Yeah, but they could.
And that's what concerns me.
No, but they could do spot checks.
Yeah.
It seems a police state aspect. But if 1 out of 10 people going through the line, hey, we're spot checking, show me your ID, and that doesn't match the name on the wristband or the lanyard.
Funny story. A few months after 9/11, my aunt was sadly going to be passing of pancreatic cancer. And we worked out on my schedule. I could take about 4 days off and go see her in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And on the way back, I was checking in. They were doing spot checks of people. They actually went to me before I checked in and said, do you mind being the person we spot check? It was funny, but they actually told me in advance, you look fine. You'll be the person we spot check.
Okay. What's their motivation? They just knew you'd be agreeable and they weren't looking for trouble or anything.